Two guys either side of 50 with one dream to achieve middle-aged sporting glory. This is the Missing Links Golf Show. Yes, pilgrims, we are back. It's Steve Hinks with Andy Walker, and this, ladies and gentlemen, is the Missing Links Golf Show. Welcome back, Andy Walker.
Thank you, Mr. Hinks. How are you on this fine evening? Spring evening, by the
Yes.
way. Yes, we've sprung into spring.
We have, and for all of our friends in the Northern Hemisphere who obviously are falling into fall or autumning into autumn, you might go, how are you springing into spring quite so early? Because in Australia, simple-minded folk that we are, we just go from the first of the month rather than any other random dates that get used with equinoxes and solstices and various things. So keep it simple.
Yep. That's the whole KISS principle. I mean, we adhere to that, don't we?
Keep it simple, Simon.
Yes, Simon or Stuart.
Yeah, whatever S name you want. Anyway, but yes, it is spring. It's spring, and that can only mean one thing. That is that we're not too far away from daylight savings, which also means that we're not too far away from a little bit more golf.
Yes. Very much looking forward to that. A little bit more time in the evening to be able to get out and do a little bit of short game work or putting. And yeah, I'm actually really looking forward to the warmth because it feels like it's
Oh,
been
mate,
such a cold winter.
it's been a wet winter. I'll give you that much.
Yeah, yes, it has.
Particularly wet winter, albeit we have just experienced the hottest August on record in Australia, Andy Walker.
Yes, and certainly towards the last few days of August were very warm. And look, we do normally get some of the westerly winds through, so it does in August. It does have a tendency to at least have a couple of days being relatively warm, but these were very warm, like warmer than I can remember for a long time.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Missing Links Weather Forecasting Podcast.
Yes.
The meteorological links.
Mm.
Anyway, let's get to golf, Andy Walker.
All
There's a
right,
bit
let's
to
do
talk
that.
about. We've both had rounds within the last week since our last episode. We've both got rounds to talk about. It is possible, though, given that they were such adventurous, such full of, what are the words I'm looking for here? They were rounds that were just full of action.
Yes.
There was so much that was going on.
Would you call it epic?
I'm not sure yet. I'm not going to call my round epic. I won't go quite that far.
Okay.
I will say eventful, interesting, game of two halves, all of those sorts of cliches.
Yep.
I'm happy to throw it there. I don't know about yours. I know all I know is the overall result due to the Golf Australia app that threw up a handicapping result for me, but I know nothing else.
Yep.
And you have given a very cryptic phone call to me yesterday after your round.
Yes.
To say that there was a lot that went on.
There was a lot that went on.
So I'm looking forward to hearing about that. And what that means, Pilgrims, is we might not get to both rounds in full detail tonight because I think we need to do them justice and pick them apart in minute detail because we know that's what you love.
Yes.
So this could be a two-parter, Andy Walker, is my point.
Well, I mean, look, I think in order to do my round justice, we do need to spend a fair bit of time just unraveling what happened because there was plenty and just really random stuff that I have never experienced on a golf course before. Which is going to be interesting to see and hear what your thoughts are on the matter.
Sure, I'll have some. Before we get to that, though, there's also been quite a bit going on in the professional golf world, and albeit that's not always our focus, but it would be remiss of us not to mention it. So the FedEx Cup playoffs have been played and won.
Yep.
In what you might describe as a bit of a procession for Scotty Scheffler. I don't think anyone was particularly surprised because when you give him a lead like that going into the first round of a tournament, it's going to always be pretty hard to beat him.
Yeah,
Um,
well, not necessarily the last couple of years, but he
well,
fell
this
in
is
a
true.
pretty big hole last year, and Rory came back and won it. So
This is true. Undermining my argument, nevertheless, but that's
that's
fine.
what I'm here for.
Yeah. My question though, Andy Walker, is do you find this format interesting and engaging? And is it something that makes you want to watch the golf on the weekend?
Not really. No, no. I was pretty uninspired by it. I did watch a little bit of rounds two and three. Actually, really enjoyed watching Adam Scott fire up and play some
Mm.
good golf. So that was good to see. I'd love to see him come back and get back to the top of his game, but I'm not sure whether yeah, whether that's going to happen. I think there's going to be sort of good rounds and sort of spurts of good form, but whether he'll actually sort of get back to his sort of Masters form, I'm not sure. So, yeah, but overall, I don't know. I heard what Scotty Scheffler said about the format leading into the Tour Championship, and I have a tendency to agree with him in that you know to it's the season long race that is effectively ends with one tournament. And if you mess up that tournament like he has the last couple of years, you actually don't win the year where well, arguably, well, probably not even arguably now, you could say he has had the best year of any golfer, regardless of whether he won the FedEx Cup or not. I think he probably should have taken out, the golfer of the year. Whereas if he'd sort of done what he did last year,
Mm.
then he wouldn't have won the FedEx Cup. And you sort of go, well, is it then really a season long race?
I don't like the term season long race, and I will point you in the direction of the Australian National Rugby League competition,
Mm,
where we have a minor premiership
yep.
and then we move to the finals. And I
Yeah.
think that's kind of what the PGA Tour is trying to achieve, that they've got the season long, week in, week out tournaments, which you might call the season proper.
Yep.
The battle for the minor premiership, the battle for the rankings, to qualify for the final series, which at the moment they've got as the playoffs, and they go then the 70, 50, and 30. But I would point you to a conversation that we had around the Olympics, Andy Walker, and the discussion of a different format in the Olympics,
Mm,
potentially looking at match play.
yep.
And I want you to try this on for size, because there does have to be some level of reward for consistent performance throughout the year and where you
Yep.
place in the ranking. So here's my pitch, Andy Walker.
Mm,
You play the whole year of the PGA Tour, the FedEx, chase for the FedEx Cup, whatever you want to call it, and the top 64 go through
yep.
into the playoffs.
Mm.
First round of the playoffs is the bottom 32 out of that 64. So it's rankings 33 to 64.
So we're talking match play, yeah?
Match play, sudden death. So that bottom 32 turns into 16.
Yep.
They're matched up against the next 16 places. So like the ones that are the top 16 after the
Yep.
33 to 64, they then slot in. So they then go 16 on 16, and then they come up, the winners of that comes up against the next best eight
Mm,
who've skipped the first two rounds of playoffs. The winners of that come up the next best four, and then the winners of that come up against the next best two.
mm,
So effectively, your players that are ranked one and two, they'll skip the first four rounds of the playoffs and go straight to the
mm.
semi-finals.
Yeah.
That's their
Does
reward for a consistent season. But then what we have, hopefully, is playing for the championship grand final style, man
mm,
on man, 18-hole match play,
mm,
put it all on the line to win the grand final.
yeah.
That I would pay money to see.
W- With the top two missing the first four rounds, that sort of you could say it freshens them up, but it also um, doesn't allow them to get into the groove of the competition either.
This is true. I'm not saying
So
it's a perfect system, but it's a suggestion.
yeah, and at the end of the day, the other thing, and I've read a few
So
sort of
maybe we
posts
split the
and and
field and we get
and
the better half that get a second bite at the cherry if they lose, perhaps, is another way of
mm,
doing it. Top
yeah.
eight style.
Yeah, look, I'm not convinced that match play is the right format for the FedEx Cup. I think that in order to find the best golfer, I still think stroke play tournament conditions, you'll sort the best golfers from, the chafe basically,
Mm,
because and this is what you want at the at the end of the tour championship. You want the best golfer to be standing, atop the atop the platform with the trophy. So yeah, I'm not convinced, because match play, and certainly 18-hole match play, it can be so close between even sort of, the 50th player in the world and, the top five. And you see that in the Ryder Cup. Whereas, you know, I'm not sure that stroke play, and we're talking tournament, sort of major championship type stroke play. The guy who's ranked sort of, 50th or 60th, usually, they're not the ones that are at the top of the leaderboard at the end of the. I mean, it does happen, obviously, but not usually, and certainly not in recent history.
See, the trouble is, though, what the PGA Tour is attempting to deliver is a grand final or a
Yeah,
Super Bowl,
yeah.
whatever your, you know, particular sport and your vernacular is,
Mm.
as opposed to what we often see, and particularly in English sport. So take the Premier League football as an example, where the
Yeah.
Premier League is it's premiership points, and it's just an accumulation of points. And what can happen is you can win the league still with two or three games remaining,
Yes. Yep.
and it's becomes then a bit of a victory lap. And so there's
Which
no.
is what it used to be. I mean, that's
That's right,
and I
and that's
and
when
was
there were
it
no playoffs.
was it Justin Rose the last time that when Tiger Woods won the Tour Championship, and was it Justin Rose that
It may
won
have
the
been
actual FedEx Cup? And there was a little bit of a strange situation where everyone was cheering Tiger. And yeah, Justin Rose is there with a FedEx Cup, sort of lifting the trophy, but everyone's there to see Tiger and cheering Tiger because he just won the Tour Championship, and it was the first time in I don't know how many years that he'd won.
exactly. And so there's an attempt to try and move away from that. And the DP World Tours face the same issue, where
Mm,
you can be on the final day of the last tournament of the year, and the guy that wins the tournament and lifts the trophy is the secondary story behind the guy that had
yeah,
already wrapped up the full season,
yeah,
race to Dubai two
mm,
tournaments ago.
yeah,
And that's what they're trying to avoid. So, in some way, shape, or form, they're looking to find a way where we can go, whoever's playing in this last weekend can win the whole thing.
mm,
And that's where I think it's actually not about finding the best golfer, because that's the world ranking system,
yeah,
you know, and Scotty Scheffler sits on that and he has that, and that's fine. But this is about finding the best group of golfers, putting them all under intense pressure at the end to see which one wins on the day. Now, my issue with it, the way that they've done it at the moment with giving people head starts, is I just don't think that happens, because you end up in a situation like we saw on the weekend where Scotty Scheffler wins the whole thing because of the head start, but
mm,
Colin Morikawa actually wins the tournament off the stick.
yeah. So you feel
Um,
as though the Tour Championship's a handicap event?
well, it actually is, but a reverse handicap event.
Mm,
So it's odd for mine.
yeah,
I'm not sure that they've got it right. I think that
yeah,
there's room for improvement.
mm.
Um, and yes, simply throw that one out there for the Pilgrims to think about. But
Yeah.
for
Look, and
me,
I
seeing
don't.
giving the best player in the world, a 10-shot lead over most of the field,
Mm.
well, I just don't see that as a contest.
Yeah, it certainly narrows the winner by a significant margin, and I don't
It does.
necessarily. yeah, I don't disagree with your point because I think there could be a better way of doing it. I've got to be honest with you, I haven't really put too much thought into how
No,
they
I've
should be
ambushed you
done.
on this one,
I
and
put a fair bit
deliberately
of thought
so.
into the Olympics and
Yeah,
what I should what should the Olympic format should be, but the FedEx Cup, I haven't. Give me 12 months and I'll come back and next
yeah,
Feb.
yeah. No, no, just throwing that out one, throwing that out. Because the funny thing is, the previous weekend, the BMW, when things were whittling down to from the 50 to 30, and even the previous week to that, St Jude, when it was going from 70 to 50,
Yep.
I really, really enjoyed those tournaments because not
Mm.
only did you care about who was winning at the top of the leaderboard, but you really cared about who was on the bubble
Yeah. Yeah.
and seeing the players that were in, that were out. It just added such a fantastic element. So I
Mm.
like that bit. I like that knockout
Yep.
stage that gives some interest into the middle of the leaderboard.
Mm.
But I just don't think that they've got the last week right. And that should be the showcase event of
Yep.
the year for the
Mm.
PGA Tour, taking the majors aside. That
Yeah.
should be the big deal.
And if you could take like a knockout format and apply stroke play to a knockout format now, just sort of throwing some ideas out there as to what I think is the best way to find the best golfer being championship tournament stroke play format. If you could use sort of both of them, the knockout and the championship stroke play format, and combine them to get something like what you're talking about, then I think that would be probably a better way to go forward.
Mm. Anyhow, food for thought.
Hmm.
That's 15 minutes of discussion about the FedEx Cup, which I think is enough for anybody.
Yeah, yeah.
So, Andy Walker, Glenmore Seniors is the
Yes.
tournament that you were playing earlier this
Mm,
week. It is a qualifying event for the New South Wales Senior Open. I think
it
to
is.
set the scene for the Pilgrims, this is an event that we're hoping that you manage to qualify for. And in this
Mm,
particular event, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, the top two
yes.
places
Yeah.
win a berth in the New South Wales Senior Open.
Yeah, correct, correct. So similar to the Camden Seniors, and as we've been through, I came fourth in the Camden Seniors. So I must admit I wasn't overly hopeful. I mean, we've discussed my injury to the nth degree, and I've been pretty rusty. And when I played last week at my home track, I was very rusty. I sort of feel as though I'm around where I was towards the end of March.
Mm.
So that's sort of where I feel as though my game sits at the moment. So I can't say I was overly confident. And certainly going back into a stroke play tournament format, um, yeah, I was hopeful, but yeah, I wasn't overly confident, and I was just going in there just to go, you know what, I'm just going to get back into tournament play, see how I go, get some of those, rounds and miles under the legs as we've talked about before. And my real target is more Carnarvon in a couple of weeks, and just to see if I can get a couple of tournaments under my belt. I've got the Coinda Waters seniors next week and then Carnarvon the week after that. So I think I've got enough time to maybe try and get my, game into some sort of order before we get to Carnarvon. And at the end of the day, Carnarvon's, the last crack. If I don't get in Carnarvon, then it's all done and dusted for 2024.
Well, then you'll be putting your application in to qualify for the New South Wales Country Championships, I would assume.
Yes, correct, correct. Will do.
Uh, I see. So, all right. Well, I think I speak on behalf of all of the Pilgrims when I say we sincerely hope that you manage to scrounge out a top two finish. I'm not giving anything away at the moment, but
Well, look, I mean, I travel down with David McClelland again. I mean, David lives only just down the road from me, so it's
how
uh,
is
it's
the
good
old
to.
high handicapper going?
He's going all right. He had a few back issues
Right.
about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and was not in a great place, to be honest with you. Was very concerned and perhaps doubtful about playing in the Glenmore Seniors. yesterday. So yeah, but fortunately he managed
Was
to.
was there a distinct smell of deep heat in the car on the drive down between the two of you?
No, no, no. I believe he had taken a quite a sort of range of anti-inflammatories though.
A couple of Voltarens and whatnot.
We were talking about the range of medications that he'd been taking for the
Mm.
last couple of weeks, but no, he was okay and had made a recovery and was yeah looking forward to getting out and having a hit out as well. He was playing. It was actually the Penrith seniors on today, and he was playing in
Ah,
that. I'm not quite
okay.
sure how we went. But yeah, we travelled down together and had a good chat on the way down. Now the weather forecast was pretty brutal. I have to admit there was forecast for winds of up to 100 kilometers an hour.
Quite
Um,
windy.
yeah, which is pretty windy. So we're talking sort of 62, 63 miles per hour
Miles.
for
Yep.
our North American friends. So pretty windy. So I was expecting and I was sort of primed for some tough conditions. But look, I mean, I've played at New South Wales for a number of years. I was a
Mm.
member at Magenta Shores for a couple of years. So, wind has never really bothered me that much. Rain, hate rain,
Oh, we all
cannot
hate rain.
stand
Yeah,
rain.
rain's the
But
worst.
wind, I find I learned to play in wind at New South Wales. So wind
Yeah.
hasn't really bothered me for quite a while. So,
Well,
I
that's what I
was
was thinking when I heard that. Like, I would have thought that kind of gives you an advantage.
mm,
Anything.
yeah, yeah. The only thing that was a concern is that when you get really tough conditions like that, your swing's got to be spot on and on the
Mm.
money. And yeah, I wasn't confident that that's where I was at this point in time. So anyway, look, I had a pretty good warm up. The winds were probably only 35 to 40 kilometers an hour as we we're warming up. So I mean, still a relatively breezy, but
Mere
wasn't
Zephyr.
yeah, it wasn't sort of anything over the top. Stood on the first tee, and we just heard this coming through the trees. We just heard this, and all of a sudden, this front hit as we were standing on the first tee. And we all, the three of us, two playing partners and myself, we just looked at each other and went, wow, okay, that was good timing. So we basically teed off in sort of 90 to 100 kilometer hour winds.
Whoa.
And to be honest with you, it worsened throughout the day.
Mm.
Now, if and you wouldn't have played Glenmore
I have
Heritage
not.
Golf Club, yeah.
No, no.
So it's a relatively long, relatively tight golf course in places. Got some pretty big gum trees on the property,
Oh, that's always good in the wind.
and got to probably halfway through the back nine, and I started to get quite concerned. Now, this probably isn't going to do that well on the
On an
podcast,
audio
but if
podcast.
yeah, but with if anyone's watching on YouTube, I'm actually just about to share my screen.
Oh, this is a first. This is
It
exciting.
is. Let's see how I go. So, can you see that, Mr. Hinks? Can you see the
I
photo?
can see. Oh, yes, I can. Ooh, that's a
See
rather
that?
large branch right there.
Yes. Yes. So that was in between the 12th and the 13th.
Ooh, that's not ideal. Ladies and gentlemen, on the podcast, Andy Walker is showing some screenshots of some very, very large tree branches that have come down from some of the eucalypts. These trees, by the way, the big gum trees in Australia, also in places known as widow makers for exactly
Mm.
this reason.
Now, a couple of years ago, and I'm sure you'd be aware of this,
Down
my
at
old
Mollymook.
stomping around down at Mollymook, there was a guy who was standing under a gum tree, and a branch like this came down on top of him, and he died
Yeah,
as a
yeah.
result of being hit by the branch. Now,
This is serious stuff.
this branch, and you can see sort of the top of the branch there, and just how big that is. That's got to be
Yeah.
at least what?
10 meters.
Oh, I reckon it's probably more than that. Maybe closer, sort of 12 to 15
Mm,
meters long,
yeah.
and a decent. It's probably as thick as your legs. I reckon as one leg.
Easily.
Um,
Easily.
Now you can see just to the left of that, there's a tee box just
Yeah.
to the left. Yeah. We were walking off that tee when that branch dropped.
Oof.
Scared
Yeah.
the absolute you know what out of me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now David McCollum was the group behind, and he heard the crack and he looked over and he saw my face
That's
and
crazy.
just went, "Whoa." Okay.
Mm.
So let me
Did they
stop
not
sharing.
call the event off at this point?
We shouldn't have been playing. We
Absolutely.
there
That's
there there
that's
was
insane.
there was a Golf New South Wales official on site, and I have to say they put people's health at risk
Absolutely. Absolutely.
by continuing on to play, because if it was just a massive risk, if you did a risk assessment,
Yeah, there's no chance of
uh,
you playing golf in those conditions. No chance.
and I must admit I was shocked that we remained out there with these branches. And look, what they probably said was that, oh, it's probably, within an hour or so of being over. So, let's just let it let it run. But that to me is still a massive risk when there are those types of branches snapping off gum trees and landing on the ground with potentially people under them. I think it was incredibly lucky that no one got
Mm.
hurt.
That is not good at all, Andy Walker. Not good at all.
No. No. So look, let me just say about the course that the course and the conditions were not unplayable, right? So like
Right.
the greens were still fine. It was still, I've sort of played in similar conditions, but played like at New South Wales or Magenta Shores, right, where there's sort of tea tree bush, like there's
Yeah,
not
well, you don't have
massive
big
gum
eucalypts
trees.
going to fall on your head. Yeah, that's right.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So the conditions themselves on their own weren't an issue, right? It was challenging. Yeah, it was really, really hard. It was the gum trees and these massive branches snapping off the gum trees
Mm.
that was the big issue. And I have to say, I'm pretty disappointed. And I fully intend, given I've now got photos, I'm going to write into the to Golf New South Wales and let them know that, yeah, I think it was unacceptable that a decision wasn't made to call it off.
Look, I think it's a good idea to send them a letter. I also think that a strongly worded review on a world-renowned golf podcast that is streamed in over 38 countries around the world,
Mm,
more than 410 cities. Yeah,
yes.
it probably gets the point across as well.
Mm, yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Did you
So
clear this with our lawyers before we went
no,
to air with this? Yeah,
no, no.
we'll be
So
fine.
we'll be fine.
The
We'll be
truth, the
fine.
truth is a defense, ladies and gentlemen.
Is it? Is the truth a defense against defamation? I
I hope
actually don't think
so.
it is. I don't think it is.
I genuinely hope so.
So yeah, it was. Yeah, so it was pretty disappointing, and I both my playing partners, and then I had a bit of a chat to David on the way home, and none of us thought that we should have been out there in those conditions, quite obviously.
Yeah, it does sound quite dangerous. So, was that the only craziness that went on throughout the round?
No, no, no. So we probably should actually get to my round,
I think
the
we
round
should. So we know
itself.
you've
Uh,
teed off. You've teed off. It was windy.
Yeah,
That's
so
what
look,
we're up to.
yeah, so I stood on the first, and of course David was the grip behind. He sort of came to the tee to watch me tee off. It's
That's
short par
that's
four,
nice.
yeah,
Yeah.
short par four, up the hill a bit. I have absolutely ripped a drive up the first to probably about 50 meters short of the green. Hit a good pitch in. which sort of jagged back a little bit. So I was left with about a 15-foot putt for birdie, and I left it probably about an inch short, dead in the middle of the hole. But it was an
Come
easy tap in
on.
par to start. So look, I
Look,
mean,
that's fine. Tap in
in
pass.
in
You'll take them all day long, but
in
honestly,
those conditions, tap in par. Yeah, look, I probably should have got up and down, but you know, I wasn't going to sort of. I was a little bit nervous, because obviously first hole and all the rest. But yeah, it was a good start, and I sort of went, oh yeah, this is a pretty good beginning to what's potentially a tough day. So down the second, par four, around about 360 meters, but it was sort of, downhill and downwind. Hit a really good three utility straight down the middle of the fairway. Had about 80 meters to the flag. And I was just really unsure. And this was the thing about the wind. It was because it was gusting,
mm,
it was gusting from different directions. It felt as though you'd walk down one fairway and it'd be into you, and then you'd sort of come back the other way and it felt like it was
be
into
into
you.
you again. Yeah.
Like it was really, really weird. It was really gusty, really blustery, and just the gusts and they just came from different directions, it felt like. So I felt as though I was into the wind. So I hit sort of a bit of a low punch, 54 degree, and it just sailed over the back of the green. And I hit it exactly the way I wanted to. I went straight over the pin. It was actually a really good shot. I hit it exactly the way I wanted to. So I thought, you know what? That's fine. I've hit the shot that I wanted to. This is probably going to happen a few times today.
Mm,
Let's just deal with it.
good
Got down
attitude.
there. Yeah, got down there. It was, a bit of a tricky up and down, a bit of a tricky chip. I took my 58, hit a really, really good chip shot to probably about 3 feet, and made the putt. So par start.
Nice. Nice.
Walked to the third 185-meter par four. Sorry, par three.
R3. Also into the wind.
It was slightly into the wind, although it was more of a cross breeze. I was in between clubs. I was in between my 4 iron and my three utility, so I didn't want to go over the back. And I could see that the front of the green there wasn't a lot of trouble short and left. So I was sort of trying to. There was a bunker short right, and I was trying to hit it at the bunker and just sort of draw it off the bunker, and I hit it straight at the bunker, and it stayed there. It was got up there, and it was on. I was actually on the upslope, and I was really
Okay.
unsure as to how much sand was in the bunker. And I hit a pretty ordinary bunk shot. Just took way too much sand. Left myself with about a 25-foot par putt, but a really tricky sort of downhill right to left, which I two putted, so ended up with a four.
Not
So
too bad.
par bogey start. So the fourth was par five, 437 meters. And I thought, okay, well, this is in my go zone. I could make, birdie. I felt as though I could sort of get the shot back that I just dropped. Hit a pretty ordinary drive. It actually
Mm.
was lucky to miss there was a big gum tree on the left, and it actually went through the gum tree, missed everything,
How
and
far
ended
off the
up,
tee was this gum tree?
probably maybe 150 meters.
So it could have been
So
quite
it
bad. Yeah.
could have been quite bad. But it went through the gum tree and ended up in the left rough. And I was a little bit blocked out there was a couple of trees down the left hand side and one big gum tree that was sort of on the left hand side of the fairway. So I thought, okay, I'm just going to hit a 4 iron just down the right hand side, probably only have about a 50 or 60 meter pitch into the green. So I've hit it wasn't a great shot. I lost a little bit on the wind. There was a pretty strong left to right wind. The what ended up being the sixth green was actually sort of on the fairway next to my landing zone, and the ball basically went straight at the pin on the sixth green.
Oh,
So anyway, I walked down there. There were some pretty big mounds in between the sixth green and the fourth fairway that we were playing. And I thought, okay, that should be fine. Um, might be a bit of a tricky pitch, but I should be okay. Sort of went up over the first mound, looking around,
No
no
ball.
ball. I'm like, okay, maybe it went over the green. So anyway, looking down the other side of the green, no ball. Oh, there's a bunker there. Went and had a look in the bunker there, no ball. Anyway, by this time the playing partners had come to have a look. No one was around.
Mm.
Completely clear. There's no sort of trees or bushes or shrubs. No ball. Can't find
Is
it.
it in the hole, Andy Walker?
Did check the hole. Wasn't in the hole. So I'm there going, like, how can you lose a ball? No one around basically in the middle of open ground.
Mm.
So we spent, the 3 minutes that's allowed looking for my ball before I sort of went, well, have
Got to go
to
back.
go back and play a provisional. So what I sort of started with it at the start of the day, and what I usually do is that in my buggy, in the seat of my buggy, where there's sort of four positions for balls, I've got my three match balls, three brand new balls, which were Titleist twos, and then I've got a ball of a different number, which is a Titleist four. Okay, and I have the Titleist four there, different number, just in case I do need to hit a provisional, so I obviously know which ball's which. All right. So I've grabbed my provisional and just ran back up to the where I'd played my second from. Took a drop. I was pretty much out of breath by the time I got there, but sort of a couple of deep breaths, and actually hit a really good 4 iron, just sort of down the middle right hand side of the fairway. And I thought, okay, well that's going to be pretty good. I should have a reasonably easy pitch from there. Might be able to salvage a bogey or maybe a double at worst. And look, it's going to happen. Accepting what had just happened, and on we go. So anyway, I'm walking down, and I see a ball sort of about where I think my provisional is going to be. Come down there, have a look. It's a Titleist two,
It's your first ball.
and I just went, what? And I sort of looked over to the green, and obviously the like pretty big mounds. And I thought maybe it's like hit one of the mounds and kicked it back onto the right hand side or just into the right rough. And I'm like, I can't believe I've just found my first ball.
Mm.
But obviously I played a
Outside.
provisional.
Yeah.
I can't actually play my first ball. So only option really is to play my provisional. So anyway, I picked up the Titleist two, put it in my pocket. And I didn't, I hit my provisional better than what I'd hit my first shot. So I thought, all right, well, it's probably 20 or 30 meters down, a little bit further. Started walking down, couldn't find my provisional. And I'm like, what? Like, how? This one was like on the fairway, I thought. Like, how can, and my playing partners were sort of down near the green, and I sort of yelled out to them and said, did you see where my ball went? And they're like, no, we didn't see it. We were sort of, doing our own thing. And I'm like, it should be just here. Anyway, they came back and started looking for it, couldn't find it. And you know how you have occasionally you just have like a premonition, like a thought. And the thought is just so silly that you just go, nah, that can't happen. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Mm. Mm.
I've walked back up to my buggy, open up the seat pocket. Guess what number ball is still in my seat?
To four.
The Titleist four.
Yeah. You've picked up
So
your provisional.
I've I've inadvertently, when I was in a rush to get back and play my provisional, I'd picked up the Titleist, another Titleist two, and hit that as my provisional,
Mm.
which then became bleedingly obvious that that was the ball I'd just picked up and was in my
Mm.
pocket.
Mm. Mm. Oops.
Thoughts?
It's not a good situation you find yourself in at this point.
At this point in time, I've just gone, no. Like I cannot believe
It's a schoolboy error.
that that has just happened. And anyway, I
So
mean, David McCollum was he was in the group behind, and he was sort of like right up, sort of on top of us. And I just he obviously saw the whole thing, and I said to him, "That's a two-shot penalty, isn't it?" And he
yeah,
went, "Yep."
yeah, it is.
So I've dropped the Titleist two, dropped my provisional, hit, and of course I was my head was a bit of a scramble. I actually missed the green with my pitch, but then I had a good up and down for nine.
Oh, I mean, single digits. Like, let's look at the the wins when we can get them.
I walked off the green and just went, that didn't just happen.
The thing is, when I was listening to you telling that story, and you were talking about you saw the Titleist too, but you thought your ball had gone further, and I'm like, no, that's your provisional.
Yeah, didn't even occur to me. Like
Yeah,
I was like, no, no, the provisional is a tightness four.
it's not a foolproof system. So here's the deal. This is something that I think you need to implement into your game. And this is something that occurred to me when I was playing with a full bag full of Titleist 75s. When you
Yes.
remember that I
Yeah.
bought the
Yeah.
box. So you didn't have the like 1 to 4. And I thought,
Mm.
this is a fantastic plan. No one else is going to be playing a 75.
Yeah. Until you get a
So,
play a provisional.
and then you play a provisional. So here's the thing, right? From now on, what my plan is,
Mm.
if I'm going to play a provisional, before I hit the provisional, I'm
You put a
actually
pin
going
in
to
it.
pull the Sharpie out, yeah, and write that on the ball
Yeah. Yeah.
and hit it to avoid any potential is this that ball
Yes.
or whatever else.
Well,
So
I thought my plan was fairly foolproof in that it was a different number.
yeah,
Like,
your foolishness was better than the foolproofness of the plan. That's the problem.
but like I like that has never like I've never
I've never,
and and
I've
and, and
never,
I've
I've got
done
to
that
admit,
hundreds of times.
I've
Hundreds
never
of
heard of
times that's been my
anyone,
plan.
I've never heard of anyone saying potential lost ball. I'm going to hit a provisional, hit it, and then I think I'll just pick it up without finding my other one.
What wasn't quite what my thought process was, but yeah, I like in all the rounds of golf that I've played, that's pretty much my standard in that I'll always have a different number just in case I need to hit a provisional. And
Well, you need to,
no
yeah, you do. You need to have something, some point of
at,
difference, don't you?
at no stage did I think that I just grab just my random Titleist 2 match ball and hit that as a provisional. Like anyway, so 5 over after four.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So we
And
get
and I imagine a few little pieces of frustration that's starting to bubble to
I,
the surface at this point as
oh
well.
look, I was actually relatively calm, to be honest with you. And I was more looking at the irony of the situation rather than being angry as such.
Okay.
So my mindset wasn't in a bad place. And I stood on the fifth tee and I thought, well, look, I'm 5 over. Let's just try and finish as best as you can. You know, probably, 5 over after four, has done done your chances if it's a
It's going to be a
day.
hell of a round to win it from there or finish top
Exactly.
two. Yeah.
So let's just put into practice, your tournament play, get your head back in the game, see where you can end up.
This all sounds good.
Yeah. So fifth hole, I've hit a reasonably good drive down the left hand side of the fairway, but because the wind was still left to right, it sort of started taking it towards the middle of the fairway, and it was a bit of a dog leg left. Anyway, I thought, okay, well, just be on the right hand side of the fairway, down near the end of the dog leg. Got down there, and I was actually through the fairway, and I was blocked out by another gum
Mm.
tree. So I had to get a 5 iron, and it was only like 111 to the flag, and just hit a punch five
Oh,
iron
it's the hardest. I reckon it's
under
the
the
hardest shot. It's one of the hardest shots in golf. Get that
yeah.
right.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, but I mean, I hit it okay. I just sort of leaked a little bit to the short right hand side, short right of the green. Walk down there. There's a water hazard there,
Excellent.
and we saw the ball. We found the ball, and it was actually sort of half sitting out of the water. And my playing
Play
partner
it.
said, "Oh,
Play it.
you could hit
Play
that."
it.
And I went, "Yeah, I reckon I can." And he went,
No.
"No, don't listen to me." I'm like, "No, I reckon I can hit it." So out comes the 58. Got down there. Now
This is a
I
bad idea.
I'm wearing my white
White. Yep.
Adidas shirt
This is a bad
at this
idea. I
point in
don't
time.
care about the shirt, but it's a bad idea.
Took a relatively full swing and
Oh dear.
made pretty good contact, but
Right.
sailed it over the green. Probably
And then look
about
down at
maybe.
yourself.
No, I did not have one bit of water or mud
Can't believe it.
on myself. So I don't know how I avoided it, but so I played it out of the water and I hit it probably 25 meters over the green. Got up there and I went, this is actually a harder shot than what it would have been if I'd just taken a drop at the water hazard.
Yep.
Because at least at the water hazard, I was short right and I had an uphill pitch
Yep.
to an uphill green. I was
Yep.
actually over the back of the green,
Never good over the back.
slightly over the corner of a bunker, downhill.
Mm.
So I hit a pitch which just landed on the fringe and stopped pretty quickly. So I had about a 35-foot putt for bogey, which I lagged down to about 3 feet and made that for an easy double.
Nice tap in double.
Yeah,
Um, I just want to point out at this point when you've gone, what are you, 7 over after 5?
5. Yeah.
If you had a caddy,
Mm,
you would not be in this situation.
maybe, or maybe not.
I think definitely
Mm.
because a caddy's not going to let you take the wrong ball back to the tee.
Well, if a caddy had if I had a caddy with some sort of local knowledge, who could have sort of told me where to hit it and where not to hit it, then that may have been something that would have been of benefit. But I mean, no one had caddies. There was no caddies available. So talking about a hypothetical situation that was is not
Of course,
really
I am.
based on anything that is realistic.
I don't write it off quite that much, but just saying that
It's pretty close.
players on the PGA Tour have caddies, and
They do.
they have caddies for a reason.
They-
Andy Walker,
yeah, and there's a big difference between the guys on the PGA Tour and me.
as this round is starting to demonstrate.
So
Let's go to
anyway, we get
six.
we go to six, and six is a par five, dog leg right. It was I knew I could hit it through the fairway with my drive. It was only around about sort of 220 to go through the fairway, so I decided to take it up over the dog leg over the corner. Actually, hit it really really good. Just hit a little bit right of my
Mm,
target, but in the air, I thought, okay, that should still be fine. One of the guys next to me said, I think there's a hazard there.
mm.
And I went, oh, awesome. Great. So I walked down there and sure enough, there's a hazard there, but it's a dry hazard. And I sort of had a bit of a look and I found my ball. My ball was actually lying up against a stick that was probably, I don't know, maybe 1.5 centimeters thick. Right. So what's that? Three-quarters of an inch thick. And I
Mm.
thought, okay, well, that's not ideal. Got to pitch out sideways, but I should be able to get, I didn't want to sort of hit a 58 or a
Was it a
54.
loose impediment though, Andy Walker?
It was my ball was lying up against it. Like I couldn't have moved it. Right. My ball would
Okay.
have moved if I had tried to move it. So I went back to my bag, grabbed my 58, sorry, my 50 degree, uh, walking back to my ball, saw it. I was about a meter and a half from my ball and sort of just looking at the lie, trying to assess the lie. And I stepped on a stick, which I very quickly realized was the
It's
same
not a stick.
stick. No, it was. It was the same stick that was my ball was resting on.
Oh no.
So the stick went probably, I don't know, 1 to 1.5 centimeters up and to the right, and my ball rotated around about a quarter of a ball off off its axis.
Mm.
As I took my foot off the stick came back onto the ball and moved the ball back to the exact position that it was,
Oh.
back to the original lie.
Oh,
And I
okay.
and I looked at it and went,
What happened there?
okay, that's a bit strange. The ball's back in the original lie, although it's moved.
What's the ruling?
Very, very good question because I don't know. So I pitched it out and I went up to my playing partner and I said, look, I think I've got to call a one shot penalty on myself, right? Because my ball has moved. And I explained to them what happened. So it's moved, even though it's ended up back in the original lie, it has moved. I said, so I think that's a one shot penalty. Anyway, my marker said, I actually don't think it is because the ball's actually back in the original position.
Mm.
Like even though it's moved. I'm like, yeah,
Mm.
he said he thinks it's not a one shot penalty. I'm like, okay. Went to the other playing partner who wasn't my marker, explained the situation, and he said, yeah, I don't think that's a penalty.
Is there a rules official on course?
I spoke to, sort of leaping ahead a little bit, I spoke to David McClelland on the way home about it.
Mm.
And he said he thought it would be a one shot penalty. And he said, yeah, I would have called a one shot penalty on myself as well. And I said, I was going to do that, but it sort of put me in doubt as to whether it would because of what my playing partner said. And as I was discussing with playing partners, I did say, oh, we'll check when we get back into the clubhouse as to whether it's a one shot penalty or not. So what's your verdict? What do you reckon? Do you reckon one shot penalty or not?
The rules of golf are quirky, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes it's hard to know. I feel like it's not a penalty because the ball has not actually moved. Like
Mm.
it's obviously moved, but it's moved
Yeah.
back. So it has not changed places.
Mm.
Um, so I think it's not.
Mm. Well, when we were playing nine, rules official came by in a cart, flagged him down, and explained the situation to him. And he said, so it ended up back in the same position, the original lie. I said, yep, 100%. And he said, yep, no penalty.
Mm.
So there you go. I was,
I think
because,
in the old rules it probably would have been, but when
mm,
they kind of changed some of those
yeah,
rules around the oscillating ball and
mm,
some of those sorts of things, it's not actually a penalty anymore.
yeah, yeah. So I would have called a one shot penalty on myself, but apparently it is
Yeah,
not.
obviously if it had moved and it hadn't moved back, clear cut, no issue.
Mm,
Um, but that it's moved back because it has not changed the playing condition in any way, shape, or form.
mm.
So I would think it's fine.
Yep. Yep. So anyway, finishing off the sixth hole, I pitched out, still had quite a long way to go, about 230 meters to go to the green. Hit a really good four fairway up, maybe sort of 50 meters short of the green. Hit a very ordinary pitch which landed on the front of the green. It's a false front, so it jagged back. Didn't get up and down. Seven.
Leading,
So I've gone quadruple bogey, double, double.
not forgetting your bogey before
Well,
the quadruple.
bogey on the third. Yeah.
We +9 at this point.
So
Ouch.
I'm struggling, you could say.
Oh, how are the
At
demons going at this point?
look, in all honesty, I wasn't angry. I wasn't mad. I was
Just
disappointed,
disappointed?
obviously. Yeah. But I was like, all right, well, what's done is done. And I kept on trying to bring myself back to focus on the rest of the round because obviously throughout our pilgrimage over the last sort of almost 12 months, I've sort of thought, all right, well, if something bad happens, that's fine. It's golf. Let's just focus back in on the rest of the round. And even if you're, you know, quite a lot over as I was, if you finish strong, that'll sort of leave a good feeling, and at least you'll have something to show for the day.
Mm.
So stand on the seventh, and seventh is a really tight par four, only about sort of 345 meters, and howling crosswind. This stage, the wind was getting really, really strong. And my swing, I started to feel a little bit uncomfortable with my swing, and I just wasn't sure what it was. I just felt as though I had my over the top move back,
Oh, no.
and my over the top move hitting it out of the heel with a sort of bit of a cut isn't the best in a 100 km/h left to right wind. So I hit her out of the heel, started off down the left hand side of the fairway, and just cut and went into the trees hard right. Got down there, looking around from the ball, couldn't see it, spent probably 3 minutes or so just looking for my ball. And finally, my playing partner said he's gone sort of over. There was a tee sort of approximately near where my ball had gone into the bushes. On the other side of the tee was like a hedge, and it was in the hedge.
Awesome.
So I walk around, unplayable. So I've taken an unplayable. And actually, my next shot, I hit a 9 iron and hit a really, really good shot up over the hedge, up over the gum trees, onto the green to about 20 feet, and just burned the edge with my first putt, but putted in, tapped in for bogey.
Yep.
Joy to the world.
So, interesting question here. You're
Mm,
now at, what are we?
10 over.
One, five, 10 over after seven.
Yeah.
How are your playing partners going?
Actually, pretty good. I had one of my playing partners at this stage was only one over
Right.
through seven.
Was he the guy that had to keep coming and trying to find your ball in the trees
Yes.
and the
Yes.
hazard and everything?
Yes.
Yeah. So was he getting sick of you yet? Were you starting to feel ever so slightly embarrassed at this point? Like there's a lot of things that go on in a
Oh,
golfer's
look,
head in these
yeah.
situations.
No, I think I've played, bad enough often enough to not really get embarrassed by it anymore. In all honesty, like, it's
Still
part of
hurts though.
golf. It
Yeah.
it does, and even when I see one of my playing partners playing badly, even if I'm playing well, you always sort of look at them and go, "Yeah, been there."
Mm.
Well, I do
I
anyway.
mean, I mean, I know, you don't generally judge your playing partners as much as you feel like you're being judged by your playing partners
Mm,
when you're
yeah,
playing so
yeah,
poorly.
yeah,
I think
yeah,
that's true.
mm,
People are
yeah.
usually feeling bad for you, but at the same time, it gets to a point where they go, "Seriously, dude, I'm sick of looking for your ball. Can you just can you just hit one straight?"
Yeah, yeah. And look, I understand. I was saying that to myself.
Yeah.
So we get up to the eighth hole. I've hit a very dodgy, heely scunge sort of drive down the middle of the fairway, but it would have only gone about 220 meters. It was a pretty ordinary shot. But fortunately, it was a short hole. I only had 111 meters to the flag, and I hit a pitching wedge about 40 meters right of
Oh, no.
of my target. So it
Oh,
missed the green and missed by a fair margin. And I'm just sitting there, I'm standing there, just going, "What the actual are you doing?"
Mm,
Like I was at that stage, I had nothing. Like I just felt as though, yeah, I get it was tough conditions and it was, you know, probably one of the the harder conditions that I've ever played in. But I just had nothing. Like I just felt I didn't know where my swing was. I just didn't feel as though I could hit a good shot.
mm.
So I get down there, actually at a reasonably good pitch, about hit my landing target, but because it was sort of downhill and downwind, it sort of went probably 12, 15 feet past the flag and hit a pretty ordinary putt, and tapped in for a bogey. So 11 over through eight.
Oh,
So we get to the
I'm
ninth
waiting
hole.
for it to turn around.
Get to the ninth hole par three, 146 meters to the flag, straight downwind,
Yeah.
right? 137-meter water carry.
Interesting
So
club choice.
so they've put the flag in a 100-kilometer hour straight downhill, straight downwind par three, where it's 137-meter water carry. They've put the flag 9 meters onto the green.
Mm. Got to hit
Chances
the
of
flag stick.
chances of stopping it short of the flag, very, very slim.
I mean, you could stop it short of the flag, but it'd be wet.
Yes. Yes, which one of my playing partners did.
Mm.
Anyway, I hit a very soft. I didn't feel as though I could get a 9 iron there, and I didn't want to take the chance of obviously the water carry. So we hit an 8 iron,
No.
of which it landed just past the pin, about sort of halfway, sort of middle of the green, and just sort of rolled through the back of the green. Hit a pitch and run 8 iron down to probably about 7, 8 feet, past the flag, and hit my putt going straight into the middle of the hole and stopped about a centimeter short
Nice.
of the hole and tapped in for another
Yet
bogey.
another bogey for a 12 over 9.
Yeah, 48. Thanks
Well,
very much.
it's not 50, so
Mm,
great effort.
yeah. So I get up to the 10th and I see David McClellan finishing the ninth, and he sort of yells to me, he goes, "Oh, how'd you go?" And I went, 48. And he laughed and he said, "Well, you've got me by two."
No. No. GMC, what are you doing?
And I yelled back to him, "So did you raise the bat?" Like you've just scored half a century. Like surely
Oh, when was the
that's a
last
bat
time?
race.
When was the
I
last
don't,
time
I
he
don't. It
shot
would be.
50 for
I
9?
reckon it would be a long time ago that he shot 50.
Oh, Dave,
So we had a
that
bit of a
is
laugh about that.
amazing.
Yeah, yeah. But anyway, onwards and upwards. Teed off 10, which is a relatively short par four, dogleg right. But I
Yeah.
pulled my drive and went through the fairway. Got down there, and as I was getting towards the ball, I could see it was blocked out by the trees. Um, but as
Of
I
course
got
it
to my
was.
ball, I saw an opening below the gum trees, which was
I think,
probably about 8 meters wide,
yeah.
right, and was probably only maybe a meter and a half high, right. So I've sort of looked and I've gone, I reckon I've got to hit my 4 iron and put it way back in my stance and only hit it about maybe, 50 centimeters off the ground. Like it's got to go almost along the ground the whole way. Right. And
And
I only
the next thought that you've had is at 12 over par for 9 holes, I'm hitting the ball that well that I reckon I can pull this off.
exactly. That is exactly what I thought. And just sort of what caught my peripheral over the back of the green was out of bounds.
Oh, go for it.
And I thought,
What could possibly go wrong?
what could go wrong? So I've probably hit the best shot that I hit
So
the
hang on, you
whole
took it on.
the whole I took it on a 4 iron. I took it back and I
Wow.
actually I actually, similar to my short game, I used the clock system. So I had to go back to 8 o'clock. So I took the
Mm,
forearm back to 8 o'clock, just punched it through again, exactly how I'd envisaged it. Landed probably halfway to the flag, went through the rough, up the fringe onto the green to about 3 feet.
far out.
Tapped in
That's
for birdie.
ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
But first birdie of the day, back to 11 over. I'm back, baby.
Now, the value of a caddy in this situation is that a caddy would not have allowed you to have played that shot. You may have made par. You would have made
Mm,
a safe bogey at worst.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But I made birdie, so I was pretty happy with that. So something to smile about finally.
Wow. That is a shot.
Yeah. So get to 11. Again, an over the top swing that sort of heeled sort of down the left hand side, which sort of cut back to the middle. Had 136 meters to the flag, but the sort of wind was more into us than anything else. So I grabbed a 7 iron out and just hit a sort of half, 2/3 7 iron, punched it sort of left of the flag, ended up a little bit past and sort of back left, had probably 30 feet sort of down the hill. Left it about 6 feet short and missed
Ooh.
it.
Yep. Nice.
So just gave the birdie straight back on the next hole with a
Oh,
3 putt.
three putt bogey. But it's kind of like you're going par par.
Hmm. Well, yeah, yeah, there was that, but that's not what I thought as I walked off
Probably
the 11th
didn't
green.
feel that way at the time. Yeah.
No, no.
Fair.
So 12 par three, 111 meters to the flag, but there was hazard directly short of the green, and of the 111 meters to the flag, it was probably a 105-meter water carry.
Mm,
So I've grabbed my pitching wedge and hit just a great shot at the flag, covered the flag all the way, landed on the front fringe of the green, and sucked back into the water.
nice. Nice. Frustrated?
So my playing partner just looked at me and gone, "That is your day." And I was going, "Yeah, that is my day." So I got down there and I actually found my pitch mark, and it was out of the hazard on the other side, and I could actually drop. So I was no near at the point of entry, no nearer
Mm,
to the hole, and I could actually putt from where I dropped it
nice.
from. That's how close I was to the green, and two putted for an easy bogey.
Nice.
Mm. So stand on 13. 13's par five. Hit a really good drive just down the left hand side. I was just in the left rough. But again, sort of this time the wind was right to left, so the wind just sort of pushed it into the left rough. Had 181 meters to the flag, and it was sort of slightly uphill over a water hazard. And I grabbed out a 4 iron because I thought it was a crosswind, and I thought, okay, if I hit it short left, I could then have a pretty easy sort of either on the front of the ground or a pretty easy pitch up the green to the flag. And just as I stood over the ball, got this really strong gust of wind, which felt like it was into us. And I thought, oh yeah, no, 4 iron's not enough club. Gone back and grabbed my three utility, and absolutely drilled my three utility at the flag, but over the
Right
green.
through. Mm,
Yeah. So I got down there and it was a really, really difficult pitch because it was sort of all downhill. I was pitching out of the rough, pitched it just into the fringe. It rolled probably 8 feet past, and I left it short, dead in the middle, about a centimeter short of the flag
yet
of the
again.
of the hole.
Tap in bogey. Could be worse.
No, tap in par was
I'll tap in
because I
par.
I,
Sorry.
I was over the green for two on a par five.
Oh, sorry. Sorry.
Yeah,
My bad.
so easy
Easy
par.
par. So we're plus 13 after 13.
Yep,
Bogey train.
yep. So got to the 13th, and I was sort of looking at my Arcos map, and I noticed that there was a water hazard, 232 meters from the tees, and I went, oh yeah, no, I'm not going to hit driver, so I'm just going to pull out my four fairway and just sort of hit it down the right hand side of the fairway, and hit it right on the head,
Hmm.
went along the ground about 30 meters onto the fairway, fairway hit, tick.
As I feel we may have covered in previous episodes, the validity of that statistic is somewhat questionable. Um,
And I just went, out of all the things that I hadn't done,
yeah, you've rolled one.
just hit it,
Unreal.
just hit it on the head, cold top along the ground, and just
Oh.
went, yeah, you know what? That's why not? Why not?
There's one word that I'm yet to hear from this round of golf,
Yeah,
and
no,
we've got
you're not going to hear that. You're definitely not going to hear that one. I can guarantee. So I got down to my ball. Again, I had 234 meters to the front of the green, and I thought, yeah, look, if I really smoke my four fairway, I might just be able to get either on the front or pretty
I
close
feel
to
like
it.
the hazard's still in play at this point.
It did actually go through my mind as I was going out. It's the same club as
Yeah,
what I've
yeah.
just cold topped, but I hit a reasonably good shot. It sort of started down the middle of the fairway and just leaked a little bit to the right, to the short right of the green. I thought, oh yeah, you know that I might be able to get up and down for that, or I stay on the train and sort of notch another one up. Got down there. There's a water hazard right where I've hit
Yes.
my ball,
Yeah.
and I've
Yeah.
gone, what? What is going on with these water hazards?
It was not there on the map when you checked before.
I actually didn't check. I was just checking distances and hadn't noticed that there was the water hazard there.
That's
So
giddy.
yes, my attention to detail at this point in time may not
Somewhat.
have been the strongest.
Mm.
So I take a drop, hit a very ordinary pitch, which landed on the front of the green and sucked back off the front, but I was still able to putted up to about 6 feet and missed it.
Triple.
7.
Ouch.
Yeah. Because at this stage, I was actually doing the numbers going, what do I need to do to break 90?
Oh. I think aggressive thinking, worrying about breaking 90. I'm thinking about breaking 100 at the moment.
And that triple I sort of just went, oh, what is going on?
Yeah.
Obviously, then 90 is well in play. And it's been a very, very long time since I've shot 90 on a golf course. So I really didn't want to do it yesterday. So we
Mm.
stood up on the 14th and hit a bit of a loopy and what you'd call an overdraw
Yeah.
into
Overdraw. Yep.
into the left sort of tree line. And again, because sort of we'd swung around and the wind was right to left, it sort of pushed it sort of that way a little bit. I was blocked out by the green. So I tried to hit a snap hook sort of 7-iron around the trees and just hooked it too much, and it ended up off the left hand side of the green and in a pretty tricky pitch, which I actually hit a really really good pitch, but it was sort of over a bit of a knob, and then downhill to the flag, and it ended up probably 25 feet past the flag, of which I've just easily rolled it up to about 6 inches and tapped in for a nice bogey.
Another bogey.
Mm. So
Very good.
16, I stood on the tee and grabbed driver, and my playing partner said to me, "There's a water hazard about
No,
230 meters
about time.
from the flag." And I'm like, where have you been the whole round?"
Or is that helping? Is that allowed?
Uh, I don't know. Are you allowed to say that to your playing partner?
I don't know.
Anyway,
Tournament play, I'm not sure. Anyway, it's nice
so
of him. Thank you.
yeah. So anyway, at that stage, I then sort of looked up the hole on Arcos because I hadn't actually done that when I stood on the tee. I sort of head was off. I just grabbed the driver. I was just about to rip driver down the fairway.
Yeah, sure.
Anyway, put the driver back, grabbed my 3 utility, hit a reasonably good sort of shot down the left-hand side of the fairway, had an 8 iron into the green, which I sort of left, I sort of pulled it a little bit and left it in the left rough, pitched down to about 5 feet and missed it.
Mm,
So I'm loving the bogey train at
mm,
this stage.
mm.
Two holes
I'm
to
waiting. I'm
play.
waiting for the round to turn around.
Yeah. So 17. And at this stage, I'd done the numbers and I'm like, I need to finish birdie par to break 90. So I stood on 17 just before we almost got hit by the branch.
Mm,
Fortunately, I'd got my drive away by then. Absolutely ripped a drive down the left hand side. So par five. I was 214 meters to the flag. I hit my four fairway. Actually hit a really, really good four fairway, but it just sort of the wind. It was a right to left wind, and the wind just sort of took it probably about maybe 25 meters left of the green. Hit a pretty good pitch to probably 15 feet, and again left it about a centimeter short, dead in the middle of the hole.
nice.
Hmm. So I stood on the last par three,
And that was a
104.
bird, though, yeah.
No, that
Tapping
was a
bird.
par.
Oh,
No, that was a
tapping
par.
par. Mm.
Yeah. Par three, 146 meters. Thought it was a crosswind.
Mm.
Then I thought it was into us. Then I thought it was downwind. And I'm looking at my playing partners, and they're all sort of looking up exactly the same, going, we have absolutely no idea which way the wind direction is. So we've all just sort of, pulled out. I think sort of my two playing partners hit 6 iron, and I hit just a sort of half, two-thirds 7 iron, and hit a really, really good 7 iron just right of the flag. And as it sort of turned over just onto the left hand side of the flag, and ended up probably about 18 feet, sort of long left of the flag. And I was looking at this putt, going, okay, I need this to break 90. So I then got really, really focused, almost hyper focused, zoomed in on the line, really felt as though I had the speed in the line, and it just rolled over the left edge of the cup to maybe about a foot past, and tapped it back in for an easy 90. Thanks very much.
Wow.
So there you go. Surprisingly,
It's quite the day
that
out.
didn't make the top two.
Yeah, that is a surprise. That is a surprise. Have you received your letter yet from Golf New South Wales?
For what?
After performances such as these, when they write to you and say, Mr. Walker, showed you cause we feel that you may be fabricating your handicap for the purposes of qualifying for these events?
Well, I have to say, I didn't come last. There were a couple of guys that cracked the ton.
Was DMC one of them?
No, no, he actually shot 38 round the back nine for the old two
For a
fat
two-shot win.
ladies, 88. And
Oh,
he was pumped when because I went in and handed him a card, and sort of went into the bathroom, just washed my face and all the rest. And as I sort of was walking back to the car, he was there unloading his gear. He looked over at me and goes, "What you have? Did you break 90?" I went, "No, I had 90."
no.
And he goes, "88." Fist bump. And I'm like, "What? You had 38 around the back nine?" He goes, "Yeah." I said, "I was only focused on giving myself the best chance of beating you."
Betting you.
Beating you.
The thing I can't believe is like, okay, when was the last time you shot 90 around a golf course? That's that
Mm.
obviously some time ago. When was the last time David McClellan was fist pumping in the car park for an 88?
88, yeah. Yeah. So it was an interesting day. So it was a
Oh,
was a day of firsts. I have to say I've never picked up my provisional
yeah.
before,
That's what cost you.
thinking it was my original ball. I've never trod on a branch which was leaning up against my ball, moved it, and as I stepped off the branch, moved the ball back into the original position. Never been as concerned for my safety as what I've was on
Mm.
the golf course
That's
with
genuine too.
those those branches dropping around.
That is genuine.
But
We
yeah,
will
it's
get
been
we will get those photos up on the Facebook page as
yeah,
well for the
but
pilgrims
it
to have a look
was
at.
been a very long time since I've shot 90 in a round of
Mm.
golf.
Mm.
So anyway, I did actually have Arcos going for that round, but I'm actually going to delete that round from the system and
I
wipe
don't know
it
how I
from my
feel about that.
memory.
Not sure how I feel about that.
Well, it's sort of like when you know how like you can for certain shots, the outliers, you can remove the outliers, so you get a more accurate reading for where
Yeah,
your
yeah,
clubs are. Well, I sort of feel as though that's applied to the whole round. I mean, at the end of the
yeah.
day, the shots I was hitting and the distances that I was hitting, I don't think I actually made a norm what you call my stock standard swing.
Mm.
You know, it was all they were all either punch shots or trying to hold up against the wind or trying to, trying to do something to negate
Mm. Mm.
how
Mm.
strong the wind was. So it wasn't
That's fair.
really,
That's
it
fair.
wasn't really
That's fair.
something. Even if I'd shot, you know, 10 shots better, I probably would still feel as though if I included this round, it would distort the figures and the stats that I've had in Arcos. It was just one of those rounds
Yep.
that you have once every 50 rounds that you just sort of go, well, that just doesn't belong in the usual sort of framework of how I play golf.
I can understand that.
Yeah. So yeah,
Definitely
while
understand that.
while my initial thought was no, you need to put it in there. Having sort of given it 24
Yep.
hours and a little bit of thought, I don't think I should because yeah, it's just not indicative of my game and where my game's
Mm.
at.
Mm. No, I can understand that point. I think that's
Mm.
valid. We'll let you off on this occasion. Don't make a habit of it, Andy Walker. The pilgrims need
Well,
the truth.
on onwards and upwards, we got as I said, we got the Coinda Waters seniors next Monday, so looking forward to that. I've just sort of had a couple of days to recover, or today to recover, and I'm back into the practice, and I'll be back in the high performance center tomorrow. Really, really good thing that's come out of the round is the injury, like
Mm.
non-existent,
No sign.
complete recovery. In fact, and I did say this to you when we had the conversation yesterday,
Mm.
is that I thought about it on about I think it was the third hole. I thought about it and thought, oh yeah, I'm actually feeling pretty good at the moment.
Mm.
But then after the debacle on four, I actually didn't give it any further thought until we were coming into the car park at Wyong Golf Club, which is where sort of David picked me up from. And Dave said, oh, my back actually feels pretty good. I think I came through it pretty good today with my back. And I went, oh yeah. Hadn't even felt my sternum or my ribs. I actually feel as though maybe I've recovered from that too. So the good thing is that I think I'm back, and with the continuing sort of support of my physio and the stretches and the strengthening exercises that I'm doing, I think it's onwards and upwards. And I think I've still got to be careful with it, but generally speaking, I think that yeah, it's looking good moving forward. So
That's a
fingers
win.
crossed. Fingers crossed. Hopefully, we're on the recovery and can get back and play some decent golf again.
Yeah. Well, that's completely unrelated to the injury, it would appear. We'll see how we go in your next outing, I guess. But Andy Walker, what a wild ride that was. Looking at the time at an hour and 25, I don't think we're going to have the time tonight to cover my round. We'll
You
hold
don't
that
want
over
to
to the
make us
next episode.
you don't want to make a start on your out?
No, no, I don't. No, I think we'll leave that for the next episode
Fair enough.
because, like yours, there's a bit to cover.
Yeah, right.
Happily, there's not as many shots to talk through, but there is
Mm,
still a bit to cover.
okay.
So
Is there as much randomness to cover
No,
as what?
no, there's not. No,
Mm,
no, no. I don't think it's possible that there
mm.
is. Um, it's still a bit to cover though.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
look
It's
forward
a
to it.
few interesting anecdotes to share with the
Mm,
pilgrims for that one, but
good.
we'll save that for a future episode. Andy Walker, it's been a lot of fun. There's a lot for me to think about after that. I'm not quite sure. I'm not quite sure how to respond. Um,
There could have been a lot for me to think about, but I'm trying to just wipe it from my
I
brain
think
because
sometimes you've got to do that. I think
yeah,
it's the right thing to do because you just
yeah,
go, it's an aberration. It's one of
yeah,
those things. There was some
yeah,
crazy stuff that happened.
yeah,
And
yeah,
unfortunately, with what happened on four happening so early in the round as well, it just completely kills you. You
yeah.
know,
And it is one of those outliers that you just go, you know what, that's just it happened, accept that it happened, and move on. And I don't even really want to analyze it too much, to be honest with you. I just want to just wipe it and go, yep, that's it is what it is. Let's just move on and
it is.
onwards and upwards.
The only thing that I would probably ask is if you were being honest in your heart of hearts, how many of the shots were you genuinely in the, mentally in the shot for
I look,
versus how often were you distracted or
I,
thinking something else? And
I didn't eject out of
that
the
is
driver's
good.
seat, so I tried on every single shot, and I can honestly say that I tried on every single shot. Was I there mentally on on every single shot? Well, that's a different question,
I
and
think I think
I
there's no chance.
it given what happened early in the round, and I actually started to feel pretty tired. It's at halfway after nine. I bought a couple of Powerades just to get some electrolytes into me, and
Mm,
because yeah, it was very tiring and like mentally and physically exhausting. Just the conditions of what we played in, and just having the wind, the constant wind that strong. So yeah, so to say that I was there mentally, and strong mentally on every single shot, no, definitely not. But I
mm,
certainly tried on every single shot. At no stage did I either, flick the ball away or, do something silly like that or just stand up and hit it.
mm.
Yeah, I tried on every single one of my 90 shots. Well, actually, no, I didn't actually have 90 shots because there were quite a few penalties in there.
There are a few penalties. Yeah, that is true. That is true. And a number of very short tap in
Yes.
putts that
Yeah.
you didn't
Yeah.
probably need to focus that hard on.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot to think about. Pilgrims want to hear your feedback. So please get in
Yes.
touch with us in the many variety of ways that you can. Any suggestions for Andy Walker to get him back on track, I think would be warmly received. Um, any possible
Yes.
feedback about his decision making processes, his performance, and whether or not you feel that that incident should have actually been a penalty. I think
Mm,
that's an interesting discussion as well. I'm firmly in the camp of it's not a penalty because the ball did not actually move. Even
mm,
though the ball moved, it didn't move its location. So I think
mm,
I would agree. And I guess bottom line, you've checked with the rules official on the day and he's given a
mm,
verdict. So that's the way it is.
Well, if it was up to me, I would have called a penalty on myself.
Sahith
Uh,
Thigala style.
I was just about to give a shout out to Sahith Thagala because calling a penalty, like I was seven over, right?
Yeah,
It's easy, I guess, to
easy,
call a
easy.
penalty on your shot on yourself at that point in time. I still would have, even if I was seven under,
Yeah,
but
because it's the
to
right thing
do
to
it
do.
in the FedEx Cup with that much on the line,
It's
like
only $25 million on the line at the time.
credit to that guy. Like that takes some serious, uh,
Oh,
I
it's
guess,
integrity. It's just
ethics and
integrity.
integrity. Yeah,
It's integrity.
100%.
And at the end of the day, integrity is doing the right thing when no one's watching. You
Exactly.
know,
Exactly.
it's
Yeah.
not just doing it when it's convenient.
Mm.
It's doing it all the time.
Yep.
And absolutely, hats off to Sahith. I think Missing Links Golf Show Player of the Week.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I can't put my hand up for any player of the
No,
week, so
no, you can't.
let's just give it to Sahith Theegala.
Sahith, I think he wins it for good all round bloke, good honesty on the course. Love your work. Keep it up. So Heath, we'll give you a shout out on X or Twitter or whatever on earth you call it, and see if we get a reply. So far, we're naught for however many that we've
Yeah,
thrown out
yeah.
there. We got nothing from Minji Lee. We got nothing from KJ Choi, surprisingly enough,
Mm.
and anyone else. Hannah Green, I think we threw one out there for as
See,
well.
I would
Yeah.
have thought the Aussies may have responded. I mean, fellow Aussie.
Busy. They're
Anyway,
busy people. Got a lot going on.
should we maybe throw something out to Adam Scott? I reckon, given,
Sure.
I mean, Adam Scott and I, we're, got a
Kindred
lot in
spirits.
common. Yeah.
Did you hear the story about Max Homer? I think he was buying a burger or something somewhere, and anyway, whatever he's doing, I'll get the story wrong. Doesn't matter. And the person that was serving him at whatever establishment said, "Oh, here you go, Adam." And he said, "Oh," he goes, "I've been mistaken for Adam Scott. Things are really looking up for me. This is a great day."
Well, he said something similar on oh, he was paired with, and it might have been Adam Scott. He was paired with Adam Scott, and probably, I don't know, 12, 18 months ago now. And he made some sort of comment tweet about, the glamour group, or, there was, the
Yeah,
the good looking group, or whatever. So yeah, well, it was definitely Adam Scott. It was, I'd have to think about who else it was, but there was a third one in the group that was with himself and Adam. So yes, good looking man, Adam Scott.
Shane Lowry, perhaps. Would have
Yeah,
been.
I don't think it was Shane Lowry.
Right. Harry Higgs.
No.
Yeah. Oh no, Andrew Beef Johnston.
Possibly, but probably not.
Very good. Anyway, I feel we've descended into chaos once
We
again. Andy
have.
Walker, fantastic effort. Congratulations. Kudos for you for not ejecting out of the round. Very
Mm,
proud of you.
thanks, buddy.
Uh, Less proud of your actual performance, but it's anyway, that's another
Yeah,
issue
that's
altogether.
that's that's golf, I think.
Look, it most certainly is. I think
Mm,
it certainly makes the Pilgrims feel a lot better about their own
mm,
games after
yeah,
listening to that as well. So well done for giving everyone a shot in the arm of
that's what I'm
confidence
here
that
for.
if a two handicapper can shoot 90, then let's all feel good about ourselves when we
Yeah.
shoot 90.
I'm actually now 2.7. I got half a shot back after yesterday.
Congratulations, and that's fantastic news. It's not the direction we're meant to be going on the show, but
No,
anyway,
anyway,
yeah,
it's
that's all good.
yeah, it's not a linear process.
Apparently not.
Mm.
Apparently not. But anyway, Pilgrims, that is it for tonight. It's an hour and a half. We've banged your ears for long enough. So, Andy Walker, any advice for the Pilgrims?
Rock out, Pilgrims.